Embrace the discomfort of learning new things, whether it's new tools, new technologies, because otherwise you're not really a creative if you're stagnant and you're not learning new stuff.
Ang magazines mo, yan ang calling card. For you to get advertising work. Na
Okay.
pipicture mo lang yung hotdog,
Yeah.
would pay better, pero hindi
Yes.
celebrity. Di ba? Pero it pays your bills, di ba?
Galing. When it's people who are closest to you are the ones telling you you're a failure, nothing will happen to you, parang masakit yun eh. You wanna prove them otherwise. So parang how do you prove them? Through this thing that you became passionate about and that you wanted to pursue and say, I'm gonna be good at this.
I've always believed na itong mga non-branded projects that I do na kinukulit ka lang yung mga tao, shoot tayo, short documentary about yourself, about your life. Sabi ko, I'm sure may payoff din to at one point.
Not everything is perfect. You have to move away from the comfort. It has to be hard. There has to be some discomfort for you that you have to overcome. So parang kasi lahat yun, it's overcoming discomfort and is embracing it essentially.
Hey guys, another episode of Let's Go Podcast. I'm a big fan of our guest for today. I've known him before social media days, and I think is one of the reasons why I do what I do now. His name is AJ Dimarucot. Sir AJ, thank you for joining us today. Kamusta?
Ayos naman. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
Such an honor. Dahil
Salamat.
nakita ko yung mga kausap mo dati. Mga idol.
Idol natin lahat yan. Pero talagang when we were doing this season, alam ko na dapat isa ka sa makausap namin. Kasi way back, before pa ako naging filmmaker or got into advertising, isa ka na sa talagang fina-follow ko as a person. Diba? Wala pang social media back then eh. And then, nakita na kita sa Design by Humans, diba? When you were designing
Friendster.
shirts. And Friendster, probably. Oo. And then, I was, lurking around you lang and then looking up to you, diba? As an inspiration. So parang sabi ko, kailangan kong ma-feature or ma-guest si Sir AJ in one of our episodes. So salamat for
Thank you.
being here. Sir AJ, paano ba sinimulan yung pagiging artist mo? How did you start?
I've always had parang an inclination to be creative as a kid. Yung nagdo-drawing ako at an early age. And then yung mom ko kasi used to draw these comics on, alam mo yung cardboard na matigas sa likod ng yung anong tawag natin sa papel natin nung grade 1? Yung may blue, red, and blue na lines.
Yes.
Sa likod nun may yung makapal na cardboard. Tinatanggal na yun, nagdo-drawing siya ng mga comics na kinakopy niya sa mga newspaper, mga Dennis de Menes, kung ewan ko kung natatandaan mo yun. So parang gusto ko rin mag-drawing parang mami ko. So at a young age, I was in school, nagdo-drawing, may art class. Favorite class ko yun. So medyo mahilig ako nung at that time. And then I was a kid who parang expressed himself also in dance. Kunyari may dance dun sa neighbor namin sa daanan. Magpe-presentation kami pag Christmas. Sasayaw kami ng mga breakdance, gano'n. So very expressive yung ko as a child, creative. Parang I wanted to do those things until college when I didn't know what to do, pero sabihan ako ng magulang ko na ano yan, that's just a side thing. That's
Okay.
But you need to get a job. Parang ganon. So
This
like,
was during college.
before I got into college. So
Right.
parang I was also good at math. So parang being an artist is it's not a thing that you
Ganun talaga
pursue.
before eh, di ba? Ganun before eh.
I think ganun before. And maybe sometimes now meron. Pero parang I think now people are more open, lalo na
Correct.
parents. So I pursued engineering. I spent about 8 years toiling away in an industrial engineering course. Parang being lost as a person. Until I found Photoshop in the 90s and then learned how to do like HTML and web design.
Right.
And that's how I said, ito na lang yung gagawin ko. Dahil parang I literally quit school after 8 years in college.
Okay. When you
So
say
I gave
quit
up.
school, you didn't graduate.
I didn't graduate. I just decided one day, with a lot of screaming and tears from myself and my parents at that time. So medyo major thing yun.
So when you left school, nag-quit ka, 'di ba?
Yep.
Of course you're doing it for yourself kasi for your sanity, 'di ba? Anong sabi ng magulang mo?
Nung una syempre iyakan, sigawan, galit, tsaka ano yun, parang in a way, I think tumatakbo ko around the table because they were so angry at me. Parang
Okay.
physically parang they were angry. Parang,
Classic.
but then madrama yung dinaanan ko to find my creative voice. Yun, hindi sila masaya. Pero until a point where I got a job, parang, pwede pa magkakatrabaho kahit hindi ka nag-graduate. Kasi I was in an industry na web design na wala pang gumagawa. Nobody knew what it was. So, parang, okay, konti-konti na parang na-heal yung hindi ka na-graduate or you betrayed us for not finishing school, blah, 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 ganun.
So you found a job right after ba? As in you left tas parang
I
after
left
1 month?
after 8 years in school, and then in 2001, and then within 2001, I found a job also.
Pero paano mo natutunan yung yung you were coding, 'di ba? And then you were
Very
designing
basic
also.
coding, HTML, very simple pa at the time. I think it was really basic HTML. But there were some tools that were starting to be made by software companies now where you can just upload like an images and it will make the website for you.
Yeah.
Kalimutan ko yung mga apps eh. Wala na sila
Wala
ngayon.
sila.
Hindi na nga apps eh. They're just software. So yun, and that's how I found my first job. Tapos when I got pirated by this company called Ogilvy, yung advertising company, ako yung first na parang web designer, or, ako rin yung nagpipitch sa clients, ako nagko-cost ng projects, and I had to hire parang account manager din. I had to hire the programmers and designers.
So before, when you were pirated by or when you were hired by Ogilvy, parang ito ba yung nag-start na maging digital yung mga bagay-bagay?
Definitely. Kasi they really hired me to be part of that group to say, we can now offer this service to our clients.
Right,
Kasi marami na rin at 2003 na yun eh, where companies were asking for, we need a website.
Right,
You know?
right.
Or at the time, mga Flash websites, or, we need to get into that world the way I guess people now, or at a certain time, we need to have a social media presence, etc.
Correct. So before, kung now we need social media presence, before we need an online presence.
Ganun pa lang
parang ganun, diba?
ka-basic, online, a website, yes, a .com.
Correct,
diba?
correct.
So,
pero paano mo curious ako, kasi syempre, galing from an engineering course, and then HTML medyo, I guess technical din yun eh, so medyo gets pa yun.
in a way, yeah.
Yung artistic language mo, paano mo na-discover yun? May na-meet ka bang artist, and then, kasi parang before, you were already drawing, di ba, as a kid, di ba? You
Yeah.
wanted to be an artist talaga. So, paano mo nahanap, I guess, yung bosses mo when you were, like, after college na, di ba?
No, actually, that was during college when I wasn't going to school. Na-discover ko yung Photoshop 3.5 tsaka Photoshop 4. Yung friend ko, director din siya ngayon, pero galing sa advertising yun. He used to be in fine arts sa UPC. I don't know if you know Arjem Vinuya.
Yes, I know him.
Magaling yan si Arjem. So talented. So, binigyan niya ako ng copy ng crack ng Photoshop.
Wow.
Sabi ko, gusto ko yun Gusto ko gamit. Tapos yun, mula doon, na-realize ko, I wanted to put these pictures together and mix pictures of yung crush ko tsaka yung mukha ko. Sobrang basic, kababawan. Pero naging medium ko actually Photoshop to put images together, grunge it up, add typography,
Correct.
add lyrics. Para siyang ngayon ginagawa mo na lang sa mga apps yan. Pero yun yung naging medium ko, at dun ko na-realize na I wanna do this. This has become my medium for my expression. Digital, which is through Photoshop.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yun. And then, that's why I learned HTML so I can just post the pictures that I created on Photoshop. As a portfolio, parang gano'n.
Before, may Friendster na ba nun? I mean, nung time na nag-aaral
Parang
ka.
wala pa.
So,
Parang wala pa.
talagang yung nung nag-post ka, as in digital portfolio lang. You really have to
It
go to
was
the
my
.com.
.com. I bought a URL called chinelas.com. Kasi may ginawa lang akong logo na chinelas. Tapos I owned that for a while. Sayang nga eh. I should have kept yung mga ganong URLs.
Oo, malakas yung
Binenta ko
chinelas.com
na lang
sana.
sa di ba?
Correct.
Sino ba mga ngayon dito?
Oo,
Chinelas
oo,
brands.
di ba? Possible. Chinelas.com, you ever went through a phase ba na nag-vlogspot ka rin, ganyan, mga...
That was my blog. So, yung pagdating mo sa chinelas.com, meron akong entries na parang blog. Pero yung entries ko, parang 150 characters lang. Kunyari, I felt sad today. Mga ganun lang. Or kunyari, nag-away kami ng may masama akong loob sa family member ko or sa brother ko. Susulat ko lang dun na one day you'll see. Mga ganon.
Yeah. Correct. Mga
Mga
cryptic
drama,
post.
mga cryptic na
correct.
kadramahan.
Correct. And
As-
then you had followers, you had,
apparently, may mga iba na I've been reading your posts. I read it every day. So, okay, may ganun pala.
Correct. And then eventually, you transitioned into shirt designs di ba? Parang, yun, paano nangyari yun? Kasi advertising, HTML, and then suddenly, nakita kita sa Designed by Humans, di ba? Threadless.
So that was around mga 2000, when I left the agency life, mga around 2007 ng December. That's when I got married then. Parang I needed to transition to another thing kasi parang nakulangan na ako sa websites kasi it never actually finishes. Marami akong project. 3 buwan na o 6 na buwan na. Hindi pa rin siya website. Nandun pa rin kami sa phase ng presenting designs and without approvals. So I kind of got tired of keeping things in the pixel space, in the screen space. So that's when I discovered like designing for t-shirts. So companies like Threadless or Designed by Humans are websites where you can essentially submit your designs. People vote for it, and if it gets voted enough, they pay you either $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, which is quite big at the time.
Correct. That was around 2008, 09, di ba?
So then you realize na parang I don't need a day job to earn this much pala, ganun. So doon namulat yung mata ko sa freelancing, working for clients abroad, working on t-shirt designs, which I felt like was a perfect canvas for my creativity kasi yung pag na-print na siya sa shirt, tapos na eh.
Correct.
Tapos it can be, you can jump from one look of a design in one shirt and then another look in another shirt kasi iba yung client mo.
Correct.
So yun, or iba yung idea mo. So for up until now, I really enjoy designing t-shirts.
So, I'm just curious. Parang, of course, you wanted to move on from the pixel space and screens, diba, digital, and then you want something more tangible, diba? Parang t-shirt design. Bakit t-shirt? Why not, let's say, do murals or why not do posters? Ganyan. So, bakit t-shirt?
I think at that time kasi nagkaroon din ng sumikat yung mga companies like Threadless and Designed by Humans. Parang it connected to the idea of making money as well immediately. Kasi $500 wasn't bad at the time, or like $2,000 is until now is a pretty good price. Nobody really pays that much for t-shirt design unless you're like the big brands.
Correct.
The global brands. So financially, it was a good choice then to pursue that. And I also liked essentially to wear what I was designing. Correct. So ultimately, I want to design for myself. If I want to wear this, so therefore sana ma-print ito or, you know.
Ano yung mga usual inspirations mo when you design shirts?
Ako yung when I started, um, the work that I do kasi is based on, uh, mahilig ako at the time sa mga street. So, although I'm not a graffiti artist or anything, pero visually, in the 90s, I was into people like Shepard Fairey, Obey Giant.
Yeah.
So, they were street artists. And um, David Carson, who is not a graffiti artist himself, but then the work was very raw and
Yeah.
very imperfect in that sense. So initially yung work ko it was very raw. It wasn't pixel perfect. It was very loose. A lot of tinatawag nila ink, parang spilled ink
Correct.
look. So medyo may pagka-trendy at that time
Yeah.
yung work ko. So I still like that kind of work, but I've also pursued other things outside of that.
Did you ever imagine that your work and your name will be as big as that sa shirts community? Kasi I remember, syempre wala pang social media before, di ba? Pero nakilala kita through those websites eh. Tapos parang medyo solid tong si AJ Dimarucot di ba? Parang na-imagine mo ba yun? Parang I'm gonna, design and then suddenly may kasamang popularity bigla eh.
Parang nagkaano lang at that time, medyo hindi ko siya in-expect, pero parang it was, I guess, like a perfect storm of when the internet, people started to be more involved in the internet. Wala pa nga mga Facebook nun eh.
Wala
Or kaka-start lang ba nung?
Wala
Wala
pa.
pa ba?
Ano yun? YM, Yahoo Messenger. I remember
Yeah,
sending links of
or
your works
ICQ or
to other
something.
friends.
Yeah, you're right. Kasi I remember like I joined the $10,000 Design by Humans contest, which I won.
Yes.
And then I was asking people to vote for my designs through email. Sinagsa-spam ako.
Correct.
I spammed everybody like in my inbox na parang, oh, vote for me, ganyan. Kasi I'm in the top 10, in the t-shirt contest. Vote for my design. And it'll help me win $10,000. Which worked. I think may mga nagalit din kasi, why are you spamming my email? Who are you? Ganyan. Tapos, pero may bumoto naman at least. So, nanalo ako.
Correct. Sulit na yung
10
konting
grand.
hate. Di ba?
So, kung ngayon yun, parang, vote for me. Social media na yan.
Correct.
Di-DM ko lahat ng mga nasa Facebook friends
Send to
ko.
all na yan.
Send
diba?
to all.
Correct.
Vote for me. Blah, blah.
Block
na ako nun.
Right. Anong ginawa mo sa $10,000?
Nag-start kami ng brand ng wife ko na children's brand called Gugu and Gaga.
Yeah, which I'm also familiar of.
Yeah.
By the way,
So at that time, we were trying to have kids. Because I was having success in my freelance career, sabi ng wife ko, ayoko na magtrabaho. Gusto ko yung ginagawa mo. And then, sige, di mag-alis ka na. Mayroon naman tayong funding na mag-start tayo ng little clothing line. And that's what we did for many, many years.
Galing, no?
Yeah.
Galing, no? So is your wife a designer also?
No. She's we're the opposite. She's a project manager and account manager. So it was a perfect relationship because I was thinking creatively and she was essentially making things happen.
Kailangan talaga nun eh. Kailangan ng someone who's, straightforward.
Sobrang organized yun. So siya yung nag-handle ng like production, talking to, working with timelines. Ako yung like, siya yung sasabi ng, uy, tapusin mo na yung mga designs natin.
Correct.
Like, okay.
As a creative ka sometimes, teka, ito mo na gagawin ko. Tama. Kailangan mo ng principal's office minsan.
Minsan ganun eh.
Tama.
Exactly.
Okay, so you built your own brand with your wife, diba? And then you continued on doing your shirt designs also.
Yeah.
Nag-collaborate ka with other brands locally dito?
There were some local brands like Artwork. It's although that was middle of there was a local brand that I worked with also. I forget the name.
Oo, naalala ko yung
Um,
artwork eh. Oo.
Meron siya, they tried to do mga collabs with mga bands and
Hmm.
hindi na rin siya nagtagal eh. Basta that was the time when I was going to Sagiho a lot tapos marami silang
Mm.
they're trying to create merch for bands.
Mm.
Anyway,
Mm.
a lot of my projects are mostly non-local. Yeah.
Okay. Non-local usually.
Yeah.
Okay. Paano mo napasok yung yung non-local market?
Nag-start yan nung 2007 nung kailangan ko mag-freelance bago ako mag-full-time freelance. Nakahanap ako ng projects. Alam mo yung Craigslist?
Yes.
Yung Craigslist,
Yes.
maraming CD stuff dyan na medyo di mo alam kung legit or not.
Correct.
But there are also job opportunities. So nag-ano ako doon, nag-apply ako sa mga job opportunities ko. Lalo na sa t-shirts. Kasi parang feeling ko, at that time, parang yung budget like say $100, $150, $300, $400, may mga ganun. Pag kinompute mo, makaapat ka, makalima ka,
Yeah.
at that time, parang, that's a decent, parang monthly gig. So, that's where I found a lot of work initially. Actually, in fact, there's one client there that I still work with to this day that I found there.
Correct.
That's probably my longest tenured client.
Since 2000, kailan
Mga
to?
ganyan, 2007.
Talaga?
Oo.
Ilang years na yun? Oh.
Tagal na. More than...
Tumas naman siguro yung rate, no?
Yeah,
Inflation
initially
and
it
all,
was like per project lang, tapos naging retainer na siya.
Right.
Nawala siya nung pandemic, tapos bumalik na naman siya. Kasi, yeah, ganun eh.
Yeah. And then how did the word get around? Parang paano dumami yung network mo outside? I'm sure you weren't naman, but you weren't messaging every brand that you can.
Oh, yeah. Ang before the social media, may mga sites na that were specifically parang targeted to mga t-shirt designers. One of them was called MTs, EMT, wala na yan eh. TES.com. So, ano yun, parang think about like a website where a lot of photographers hang out.
Right.
And then, ang nangyari doon, nagpo-post kami ng t-shirt designs, tapos magvo-vote ka kung if you like this design, magko-comment, ay, pangit, or ito, ay, ganda. Tapos, magiging t-shirt of the day siya pag if it gets enough votes. So, parang it was essentially a community of t-shirt designers. So, parang medyo nakilala rin ako doon sa world na yun. Yun nga dahil sa mga threadless, designed by humans. And then, some companies started working through that website, like companies like Bravado will need a t-shirt design for Alicia Keys, will need a t-shirt design for Michael Jackson, mga ganon. So that's how I got to
Yung mga ganong gigs, you click and then message them na, hey, I wanna pitch a design, or do they
no, they
handpick
find
you?
They find you. They work with a lot of artists, so I wish there was more communities like that na specific to a niche. Ngayon kasi you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have Twitter. It's all like wala na eh, halo-halo na. Noon at that time, t-shirt designers lang yung nandito.
Lang eh. Tama.
Kumbaga, sana may ganun ngayon kung logo designers lang.
Right.
Nagkaroon na rin ng companies like Behance, Dribble. So, nandun lahat, di ba? Photographer, icon designer, web designer.
I remember Flickr back then was also...
Flickr, Coroflot, like you mentioned, ArtStation, pero mostly for... Or DeviantArt, sorry. You mentioned DeviantArt. Hindi ako nag-DeviantArt, di rin ako nag-ArtStation. Karamihan dun, very more of concept art, illustrators, mga ganun. So, yeah.
Okay, so they handpicked you, and then... anong naramdaman mo na parang, okay, I'm gonna be designing a shirt for Alicia Keys, di ba? Parang anong...
Sobrang, that was for me, very important. Kasi nga, ako from college, dropout ako eh. So parang, yung mga little things na ganun, ina-add ko siya na parang a feather on my cap.
Correct.
Na parang, drop out ka, pero nakakuha ka ng trabaho, nag-start ka ng department sa Ogilvy, nakatrabaho mo itong mga brands na to. So parang slowly na-build yung, parang okay na ako. Parang,
Yeah.
I was a failure.
Mm.
Parang I'm such a failure. Pero parang after a while, I feel better.
Correct.
Na
Correct.
parang may konting success naman, parang ganon.
Mm.
So naging ano siya na sa aking insecurities and yung confidence ko, nakatulong siya talaga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kailan mo na-realize na hindi ka pala failure? Meron bang moment sa buhay mo na gano'n na, okay, I think I'm doing okay?
Yun yung parang little by little, it chopped away from my insecurities. Kasi leaving school, parang I would never show myself to my classmates. Kasi parang sila, they graduate ng IE sa UP. May mga iba, sweldo ni 2001 to 1999, nasa 70,000 na. Ganun.
Wow, that's a huge amount back
malaki
then.
yun. Kasi nag-work siya sa Shell or sa international company in na somewhere in Brazil, mga ganun. No?
Tapos tayo
Shit.
freelancing.
Parang, fuck. Ay, sorry. Parang, kawawa ka naman. Parang you're such a failure compared to your classmates. So, yung accolades na yun, slowly, parang gave me parang a better, about myself. Parang, better self-confidence, better, it made me feel better about who I was, na parang konting-konti. Medyo successful ka na rin kahit pa paano parang gano'n.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
it doesn't really end, pero ngayon, halos wala na yon. Parang, kumbaga, ini-embrace ko yung I failed in college because I pursued what I really wanted.
Correct. You think naging driving motivation mo talaga yung dropping out of school? Is that your fuel? Did that fuel your drive? Or
Yes.
your love for art fueled it more? Like, anong mas naging driving force mo? Yung love for art o yung I don't want to be a failure, my friends
It was
are...
both. It has to be both kasi when it's people who are closest to you are the ones telling you you're a failure, nothing will happen to you, parang masakit yun You wanna prove them otherwise. So parang how do you prove them? Through this thing that you became passionate about and that you wanted to pursue and say, I'm gonna be good at this. And then what is the proof? Diba? And that's when, you got to work with this brand, you got to meet this, like LeBron James.
Correct.
So parang, okay. So it's both. Nagkataon lang na the way I proved them is through something that I was really passionate about. It could have been otherwise, could have been, kunyari, nawala ako dun sa, hindi ako nag-graduate, pero ako yung nag-imbento ng isang napakalaking Jollibee or something, di ba? Tapos naging global company siya. Ay,
Iba rin
yun.
Ibang
Diba?
usapan yan.
So, ibang usapan din yan.
Correct.
Pero ito, I was passionate about the designs.
Correct.
Design. And I also had to prove myself.
Correct.
Yung na yun, yung dalawang...
That formula.
Yung dalawang fuel na yun, grabe yung... Until now, parang it's still being less as before, but then it's still there. It's still burning inside of you.
That's super good to hear na hindi pa nawawala yung fire within you. Kahit na nasa pinnacle ka na ng success, di ba? I would say.
Hindi nga Parang hindi ako, to me in my mind, parang nagawa mo tong mga to. Tapos pag tinitingnan ko yung mga ibang tao, like even here in the Philippines or abroad, parang, grabe, paano niya nagawa yun? Bakit hindi ko pa kaya abutin yun? So I'm always parang kulang pa ako Parang I haven't really done a lot. Parang ganon. Parang yun na ba yun? Yun na ba yung, are you gonna rely on all those things that you've done before as your legacy? Or ano pa? Kulang pa?
Ano ba bang mga ano ba bang na-imagine mo na you think you still wanna do or achieve at this stage in your career?
Dami pa Like for example, meron akong project na, marami akong passion project. Like, nagkaroon tayo ng Philippine Space Agency. I wanted naggawa lang ako ng logo na sana i-pitch sa kanila, although wala akong nangyari doon kasi wala akong kakilala doon. Gusto ko yung logo na yun, mapunta siya sa space.
Wow, okay.
Yung mga ganon.
Yeah.
So, I wanna be able to one day like collaborate with people like Kenneth Cobonpue. Kunyari, may line siya ng bagong furniture na gawin natin medyo mas ibang market. No? Gawa ka naman ng logo or gawa ka ng
Correct.
things like that. Or brands like yung wala pang merch. Gawa tayong merch. Ginawa yan kilala mo si Quicks?
Yes.
Yeah, si Quicks, he
Yes.
did a Jollibee collaboration
Yes.
with his toys.
Correct.
Yung mga ganon, yung mga ganong projects na parang, damn, gusto ko yan. Or, like a sneaker or, although I'm not a sneaker designer.
But if
eventually,
given the opportunity to
given
design, why
let's
not?
customize the sneaker based on your designs.
Correct.
May ginawa akong designs for Pacquiao before sa Nike. Nilagay nila yun sa sneaker.
Nice.
Pinrint nila sa sole.
Okay.
Pero that was it. It's inside. It's
Yes.
not the
The actual,
outside.
yeah. But at
it
least
was in
it
the
was
sole. It's still in the
in the
shoe, diba? Pero hindi siya intentional na let's collaborate on a shoe. It was more like I had designed a t-shirt for Pacquiao and Nike na kunin na natin yung design niya at i-print na natin sa sapatos. Wala ako dun. I wasn't part of the process for creating the design on the shoe.
Right.
Yung ganon. So
Okay.
parang one day, hopefully, sneaker kay ganyan. Whoever is a big NBA star in the future.
But with all the possibilities now, kasi ang dami nag-collab talaga eh.
Yeah.
Brands collaborating with other brands and then brands collaborating with artists. Talagang the possibilities are infinite now eh, di ba? Talagang dami na. Ngayon nga, we'll never know yung podcasts are even branded already, di ba?
Yes.
So, ang dami nang pwede mangyari. Speaking of, kanina ko pag-usang tanongin to eh. I mean, I'm very, very curious and parang nakaka-proud nga eh na parang in front of us now is a Nike designer, di ba? A Jordan brand designer. So, medyo gusto ko siyang pag-usapan din, di ba?
Sige.
Parang hindi ko alam paano simulan, pero kwento mo nga anong...
Breakdown natin.
Sige.
Kasi maraming akong projects with them eh.
Sige.
And different paths to be able to work with
Sige.
Nike and Jordan brand.
Game.
And a lot of artists or designers, young and old, yun yung tanong nila sa akin parate. Paano mo na ka-work sila Nike?
Correct.
It wasn't parang... It is really more for them because they also want to work with Nike and Jordan brand. Yung iba nga sa ibang bansa, pag nakikita nila yung portfolio ko, kunyari, mas senior pa sila sa akin. Parang sinisimplihan pa nila eh. Oh, that's a good, how does that work? How do you get into those, kasi gusto nila for themselves. So, sa akin, maraming naging path for me to work with Nike. Hindi lang siya once in my career.
Okay.
So for example, the first time I worked on a Nike project was because I got hired in Ogilvy, and then in that year, one of the years that I worked there, establishing their digital department, yung global Nike said Ogilvy will be the digital
Galing. Okay.
parang partner. And so in Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific, they had to work with us in Ogilvy to essentially deploy their websites locally.
Right.
And then work on some local websites. Na one was like we were trying to develop a basketball league, and then another one was partnerships with UAAP. Parang I think the concept at that time was like basketball wars.
Right.
So each school, I had to design yung parang mga truck nila na truck ng parang army truck na meron akong pattern imbis na yung green na
the camouflage, diba?
Camouflage. It was a camouflage of the different schools.
School colors, yes.
So may red, may blue, may green.
Yeah, galing.
Pupunta lahat yun sa mga schools nila. Tapos may ring sa likod na pwede kang mag-join. So that was one campaign, and then I did a website for Pacquiao at that time also. May mga ano pa yan. I don't know if you know Flash, Macromedia Flash.
Yes.
So may mga animations na mga yung mga locker room, bubukas siya kasi mayroon siyang t-shirt doon.
Galing.
So yung mga ganang flash projects at that time. So that was the first time. And then when my friend who used to work there left Ogilvy, nag-Nike siya. So, nung umalis na rin ako ng Ogilvy, actually even at Ogilvy, she partnered with me, Nike, and AJ as a collaborator within Nike.
Okay.
So, medyo nakilala ko na yung Nike team locally.
Right.
And then that opened up a lot of Nike collaborations locally.
As AJ na.
As AJ na, nang umalis na rin ako. And then, another time, and this is how I got to work with the US Nike and Jordan people. So, it started with a graphic that I created of Kevin Garnett. Familiar ka naman
Yes.
if you're a basketball head. He used to play for the Celtics at that time. I designed a portrait that tried to encapsulate his persona. Alam mo yung mukha na parang galit,
Yes.
sumisigaw.
Lagi naman galit dun eh.
Parang galit. So yung design ko, parang siyang mukhang zombie, puti mata, parang green blood yung lumalabas kasi Celtics. At sabi nung mga people dun sa website ng mga t-shirts, this is cool, ganyan-ganyan. So I felt good about the design. And then, one time dito sa Pinas, I met a guy in Sagiho. His name is Andrew Garcia. He's also named AJ actually. He used to work at Adidas.
Okay.
So this guy, Andrew Garcia, sobrang idol ko yun. He owned and sold Don Paparam.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
si Andrew, sobrang cool yan. He sort of helped me with Adidas. Okay. So pinakita ko yung design ko nung sa Sagiho kami. Konting may music, tugtugan. Pare, can I show you? Ganun. May phone pa na, can I email you? Ganyan. Binigyan ako ng card. Pinakita ko yung design. Baka you can show it to your colleagues in the US. So, sabi niya, fine. Yeah. Parang binigay ko niya yung card, in-email ko siya. Tapos, that was the last of it. Never heard back from him again. Didn't mention anything. Tapos may nag-email sa akin sa Jamaica. Nakita nila yung design na yun. Sabi nila, we love this design. Can we buy it from you? He looks like a zombie. Parang sa kanila, wala silang pakialam about Kevin Garnett. It looked like a zombie. So, wala namang nangyari sa Adidas eh. So, binenta ko yun dun. Tapos maybe a few months later, nag-email si Adidas. Sabi niya, we saw this design. It was sent parang on your website. Ganun. Which was probably sent like a year back pa, by Andrew, my friend. We want to purchase it and use it on like t-shirts. And sabi ko, I had sold this guy in Jamaica as a zombie. So, wala na. I can't sell it to you. But we can do some other things. So I did some t-shirts for, at that time, Derrick Rose, Dwight Howard. Binigyan nila ako ng poster ni Dwight Howard. Sinasign niya yung design ko. And then, so that's the Adidas side. And then I posted that same design on Behance. If you're familiar.
The ones you did for Adidas, you posted
No, the Kevin Garnett
the
design.
Kevin Garnett,
So yung exact design na yun, nilagay ko doon sa Behance. Tapos may nag-email sa akin from Nike in Portland. They said, we love this design.
Main office.
So we want to you take this design and apply the style into our t-shirts and products. So that's how I got to work with Nike in Portland. Kasi nagustuhan nila yung gawa ko. So yan, gumawa kami mga Nike Air Max, mga Nike Air Force One t-shirts, Nike logos, Nike sportswear. So a bunch of t-shirts based on a simple graphic that I did of Kevin Durant. Kevin Garnett, got me to work with both Adidas and Nike.
And before we proceed, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. Let's Go Podcast is now in official partnership with Aperture Philippines. If you notice, this whole set is lit by Amaran, and without Aperture Philippines, this episode will not be possible. So thank you guys. Hanep.
That's just another story. Yeah, but yes.
Yes, pero, sige, okay, teka,
Yan
medyo,
mo na, yan mo.
okay, medyo, una, hanep. Pangalawa, alam mo ba nangyari sa Kevin Garnett design mo? Whatever happened to that
It was
guy
sold
from...
to the Jamaican
Yeah,
brand.
like, what did the Jamaican person...
Baka wala na yung brand niya.
Okay. So, ano lang yun? Talagang
Nakita ko pa yung print niya.
Indie shirt
It
company
was
na
just
siya.
like a brand out of Jamaica, some random brand. Pinalitan niya yung colors to like purple and pink.
Right.
Tapos yung design ng face niya sa buong t-shirt sa harap is really very graphic tee. Parang ganun. Parang kasing zombie yung look eh. So, I don't know if they're still around. Baka wala na.
Baka wala na. I'm pretty sure wala na yun kung that was...
Kung hinintay
many
ko lang
years
ng
ago.
konti, di sana naging Adidas t-shirt
Diba?
yun.
Pero I'm sure gumawa ka rin ng ibang Kevin
Gumawa
Garnett.
akong iba. Hindi na ako ng Kevin Garnett.
After no, wala na.
Dwight Howard,
Okay.
Derrick Rose.
Nasaan ba si Kevin Garnett na brand back then?
Adidas siya.
Kaya pwede, di ba?
Oo. Kaya kasi kinuwento dun sa friend ko na taga Adidas dito to share it.
Kung alam na ni Kevin Garnett how he jump-started your career.
Yun nga eh. Pwede ko siyang i-message. How Kevin Garnett got me to work with both Adidas and Nike.
Correct. And then, okay, sige. Now, you got to work with Adidas, with sila Derrick Rose, sila Dwight Howard. Anong nangyari? Kasi before, you were just pitching an idea, baka you can produce this, diba? And then, when it actually happened, after a year, anong nangyari sa'yo? Like, how did you manage the whole pressure? Kasi you're working with Adidas already. I think this is your first big commercial project, I'm assuming, diba? As a shirt designer.
Yeah, one of the.
That's one of the.
Yeah. Kasi, hindi naman sila sabay-sabay. Like, yun nga, si Adidas. It was probably within about a year or so na, si Adidas katrabaho. Tapos maya-maya si Nike naman. Tapos maya-maya si Jordan Brand naman.
Yes.
Kasi sa US, Nike, when they see your work, the other art directors within the company, from Nike to Jordan Brand, I want to see who did that. I like the design. Maybe I can hire him. So, yun, doon na spread yung name ko within in my work within the company. So I did a few more like t-shirts with them in the US. And then while I was continuing to work here naman with my colleagues na dating Ogilvy na nasa Nike, so yun sumabog naman yung kay Pacquiao, gawa tayong t-shirt, gano'n. So maraming iba-iba talaga na way ko siyang napasukan eh.
Correct. Pumasok ba ever sa isip nila or sa isip mo na they just hire you instead of hiring you as a freelancer? They ever give you an offer na, hey, maybe you could be...
No, but there was an opportunity once for Adidas that came my way to work in Shanghai. Yeah. Meron din pala sa Nike at the time an opportunity to work in Nike China. Mas malapit eh. So,
correct.
Wala pa naman yung Nike Portland opportunity. But yung sa Nike, the opportunity came mga 2019, kunyari September or October. Biglang 2020.
Yes,
diba?
yes.
So,
did you ever
hindi siya natuloy.
Were you considering?
I considered it. Kasi syempre, iba yung makatrabaho mo yung mismong brand. So, yung una, Adidas in Shanghai, and then the second time, Nike in Shanghai, in China. So, oo naman. That was, feeling good. That's a possibility that I would consider na going back to work for those companies.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
understood.
Otherwise, parang, okay din naman yung freelance na project, di ba?
Correct. But of course, if Nike wants to get you
Diba?
already,
Parang
why not?
iba rin yun eh. Ibang experience yun. So, I would probably say yes to those companies.
Kamusta working with international brands as a Filipino? Diba? Parang I'm sure you worked with different local brands, also collaborations, diba?
Yeah.
And then now you're working with international brands as AJ, diba? You're not with
Yeah.
Ogilvy anymore. So parang paano yun? Like, how do you manage the expectations? Kasi iba rin sila mapag-usap, diba? Working with regional projects, iba rin yung level of communication and not just language. Kumbaga yung setting yung work culture lang, di ba?
Yeah.
Parang iba yung sa Pilipinas, iba rin sa kanila. So, ano ba? Ano bang, what can you share about that?
Yeah. There's two answers there. Kasi working with international brands, so as I established my name in that kunyari in that scene in the t-shirt industry, they would normally come to you for what you bring. So they know of your work.
Correct.
So I think that's the best way to work with any brand or any company is when they approach you for the voice or the approach or the look or the talent that you bring to the table. Kasi gusto nila i-co-op yung trabaho mo
Correct.
for their own, 'di ba? For their own brand. And so those companies that work with me that way, yun ang pinaka the best kasi ano yung tingin mo, AJ? Kasi ikaw yung style. Gusto namin style mo.
Correct. They're not just hiring you for your
It's
graphic
not a-
design skills, di ba?
Hindi.
It's really your voice.
Yes. So that's the perfect parang way to work with any brand, local or international. But I've also worked with clients abroad na hindi yun yung approach kasi it's not a t-shirt. It's a a product listing for Amazon.
Yes.
And then I need to do the product listing over 300 SKUs or 300 products. We don't need your voice there, diba? It's production work. So I've also taken on work that's not necessarily exciting. So kumbaga that's the reality of being a designer. Sometimes brands and projects are for your portfolio. Some projects are for your bank account or putting food on the table.
Yes.
So yun, marami akong ganun. So yung discussions doon will be, minsan siyempre meron ding, ba't ang mahal mo? So I try to parang find the common ground where it's sort of cheaper for them, but it's not dirt cheap in Philippine
Correct.
context.
Correct.
Kasi may mga nagte-take advantage din na clients, Pilipinas, mura dyan.
Yes.
Mura yung ano. But there are some companies, they understand na parang in between, they're saving money, but you're also doubling or tripling your local rates.
Sir AJ, we're all aware as freelancers na may mga projects talaga na we love doing. Na parang gagawin ko to kahit anong mangyari. I really want to get this project. And may mga projects na kunin ko lang to kasi this will pay my bills, di ba? Paano mo binibigyan ng energy yung ganon? Kasi minsan, alam naman natin na may mga projects na sometimes nakakatamad gawin for the lack of better term. But of course, clients don't deserve that, di ba? The reason why they got us is because they need help from us. So, how do you balance those two? Kunyari sabay, di ba? Isang project na gustong-gusto mo, isang project na you're just gonna do because you're asked to do it. So, how do you do that?
If I can, I'll take everything. Kasi parang I don't choose. As a freelancer, parang you have projects that are prestigious and it pays. So price, prestige, tsaka parang sinasabi ko portfolio. Lahat nung kunyari like a Nike or Jordan brand, it's all the three. So it's definitely going to be in my portfolio. They pay well and it's prestigious. So, but there are projects you get for price because they pay well, but you're not going to show it in your portfolio. And they may be prestigious in an industry you're unaware of, pero it's not related to your interests.
Yes.
So, yun. So, lahat yun, tatanggapin ko yun. I'll work with them. But obviously, prioritize the ones that you love the most. When something happens na nagsabay, it hasn't really happened to me that way. But if something happens na sabay, then my parang producer hat is I wear it. I have to hire another person to parang to execute.
Correct.
But based on my vision.
Correct.
Pero ikaw na mag-execute kasi I'm working on another project.
Correct.
So the way I work with those things is I've developed a system na what I call the layer cake system, where there's a layer cake. There's 3 layers of cake that you usually eat at a wedding or a baptism or so mostly wedding, like a base layer, there's a middle layer and a top layer. So the base layer is very big, pero it's hidden underneath the other two. Yung prestige and beautiful things nasa taas, nandun yung cake topper mo, yung mga flowers or whatever. Yun yung mga Nike, yun yung mga Jordan brand. Pero dun yung nagsusupport sa kanya sa ilalim na projects are kind of hidden but they pay the biggest amount of your nandun lahat ng cake
Correct.
sa ilalim. Although may mga daya, di ba, dati cardboard lang yung loob. Pero ngayon may mga talagang totoong cake siya. So yun yung projects na it's hidden but it supports it's the foundation for all the work that you do. It pays all the bills. So anything from the lowest layer cake, I'll take to the top best clients I
Correct.
put on top.
I remember when I was still in photography, like nung 100% photographer pa ako, whenever I do editorials for magazines, prestigious yun eh. Talagang you do magazines, you work with celebrities, and then ang ganda ng concepts, ganyan-ganyan. But they don't really pay a lot. Pero, because you have magazine work, you get projects na corporate. And then yung mga profile photos ng mga presidents, di ba?
Okay.
Na parang sabi nga namin ni Sandra, I was with Sandra before, I was an edge of light photographer back then. Sabi namin, ang magazines mo, yan ang calling card. For you to get advertising work. Na pipicture mo lang yung hotdog, would pay better, pero hindi celebrity, di ba? Pero it pays your bills, di ba?
Galing.
So parang gano'n eh, parang calling card din, di ba?
So prestige and portfolio it doesn't pay well.
Correct.
So 2 out of the 3, maganda na yun.
Correct. Tama ka. Anong ginagawa mo pag prestige, di ba? Maybe you like the project, but it won't pay well. Like talagang passion project. Do you still accept projects like that?
I think I've had that with mostly corporate clients na not related to my interests at all, which is like sports, fashion, ano kasi to eh, parang software na medyo they wanted a t-shirt. Parang I take all of that. Because their brand is a global brand. So there's prestige.
Correct.
So it actually still ended up on my portfolio kasi there's a name behind their company. But it's not necessarily something I would put beside like the Nikes and Jordan brands.
Sometimes kasi yung ganung projects, let's say you work with, I don't know, lack of better example ng NVIDIA. Di ba? Siyempre, kunyari, t-shirt lang, NVIDIA, ganyan. The fact that NVIDIA trusted you with their project is parang ano yan eh, flex na yun eh, na parang a global company trusted AJ, di ba, to design their shirt, di ba? Parang is more than enough a flex than other projects, I guess, di ba? Parang, di ba?
Yeah, yun. So minsan the brand carries the prestige na like NVIDIA. I'm not necessarily somebody who watches all their chip releases, pero important din yun sa work natin, yung NVIDIA, di ba?
Correct.
Pero hindi ko siya typically na parang hahanapin ko yung project na yun.
Yeah.
Pero pag nagkaroon ng opportunity na yun, okay, game.
Tama. Sir AJ, sige, ganito. Kasi I always tell also my friends who want to be in advertising, nasa sa mundo ng filmmaking, commercials, ganyan. Nagtatanong lagi parang, how do you start? How do you begin? Di ba? Ako, sinasabi ko, syempre, you have to build your reel. Di ba? You have to build your reel. And then, usually, nag-start sa music videos, di ba? Kasi yung client mo sa music videos will be the band, the artist, and then yourself only, di ba? So, you have your concrete body of work. And then, you have to build your reputation also. Na parang, at the end of the day, you can deliver what you promised. Hindi pwedeng, promise, ganito yan, maganda yan. And then, pagdating ng output, wala na, di ba? So, in graphic design or in that design world community, kung gusto ko magsimula, how do I begin?
Magandang question yan, and a lot of lalo na young designers and artists ask me that. A lot of my work is a result of parang self-initiated work. So projects that I just wanted to do because I'm passionate about something. For example, case in point, the story that I told you about Kevin Garnett, which opened up many doors for me. And then Another one was there was a time when Jeremy Lin was so hot in the NBA. He's a Taiwanese American basketball player, the first ever in the NBA. Parang
Linsanity, di ba?
Linsanity. I just created a simple logo that I thought would be nice for him as a player. When I was trying to learn more in go deeper into logo design, I was also learning, and so parang I applied it to him. And then another company found me through Behance and said, "We want to work with you. Although it's a pitch, we'll pay you." Blah blah blah. That was a Nike project. So and then playing around with the skill sets and tools in Adobe Illustrator. So this is a bit like going deep into the software and trying to learn something new. I was playing around with like calligraphy. How do I mix calligraphy with digital tools? So yung if you're familiar with Persian calligraphy, their letters are very parang curvy and may mga lines then straight. I applied their calligraphy like to English words, and then posted that and shared that. And then somebody found me again online to and wanted me to design a book cover based on that style. And then that book cover won an award, won a couple of awards, one in the US, one here in the Philippines. So you start with doing the work that you want to do, even when there's no client. So that's how I always start. I always begin with what do you want to do? What do you want to design? What do you want to illustrate? What what band do you want to create a video for?
Correct.
So kahit libre pa yan, I'm sure you'll work with the band, di ba? Ganon. Self-initiated projects eventually become paid projects.
Tama. Like,
Yeah.
I super agree with this. I cannot reiterate more yung point mo na create what you want to do. Kasi parang some people who want to begin also in the creative work, parang iniisip kagad is parang, how do I get clients like that? Diba?
Yeah.
I want to be like you. I want to work with Nike. I want to work with brands like mga nakaka-work mo. Without thinking about their foundation. Parang, sino ka ba? Ano bang bosses mo? Diba? What can you offer first? Diba?
Exactly.
So
Yan.
parang ang gandang point to na create what you want to do first, and then eventually people will notice who you are,
Yes.
and then they will look for you, 'di ba?
Exactly. So yung sinasabi mo yung voice mo dapat umangat. And that's how the Nikes of this world actually work with you. Kasi ano yung voice niya as an artist?
Galing.
Doon
Sobrang
nila ma-realize, I want to co-opt that voice or that look or that point of view, that culture, that background. Kasi companies they need to be legitimate. It all can't be marketing messages. So
Correct.
they have to tap real people and real artists, uh, the real stories of their athletes and all that.
So, Sir AJ, obviously sobrang well-decorated designer ka na. You're working with both local and regional projects, di ba? Different brands. And then hanap mo na rin yung boss mo. You're so lucky that you were able to find your voice already. And brands are looking for your voice, di ba? Yung bosses mo ba is still Filipino? Meaning, do you still incorporate your heritage? Or since you're working mostly with regional projects, di ba? Parang nag-iba na rin ba? Medyo western na ba yung pakiramdam ng design mo?
I think yes and no, both. I Some projects naman don't require me to work on their project that incorporate like my being Filipino. But for example, if when I worked with Jordan Brandon here in the Philippines, that had to be a Filipino approach. So I did a lot of designs for Jordan Manila that had Manila,
Correct.
things like that, or Philippines or whatnot. But my projects abroad, when I work with them, um, it isn't directly like mirroring my being Filipino or from the Philippines. But when I share those things in locally na parang, oh, a Filipino can work with these brands abroad.
Yeah.
So yun yung parang things that I parang focus on. Oh, a Filipino parang can work for any client abroad, whether you're in the Europe, US, Japan, Australia or China or whatnot, without ever having to leave the country. So parang dun naging yung purpose ko is to sort of highlight that and let people know na unang-una, I think Filipinos are the most creative people in the world. And that, secondly, we never have to leave our country to work with the biggest brands and to even have financial success. So, yun yung parang naging, from a design point of view as a passion, to having a purpose and saying that ang galing natin, dapat hindi tayo nahihiya sa galing natin at kaya natin lahat yung project na yan sa kahit saang lugar pa yan sa mundo. Parang
Galing,
ganun.
galing. Salamat for doing this for the community. Kasi parang I think, I agree with you. There are a lot of creative Pinoys here na hindi naman nila kailangang lumabas. And I think kailangan nilang marinig yun from you na kaya talaga natin as Pinoys to make it globally. Dahil sometimes yung konting push na yun lang ang kailangan marinig ng artists natin para mas lumakas yung loob nila, di ba?
Mismo.
Pero alam mo, sa kwentuhan natin, nararamdaman ko na parang, okay, ganda ng trajectory ni Sir AJ. Parang from dropping out, of course, hurdle yun. Pero tuloy-tuloy yung pag-angat di ba? Let's talk about some setbacks. Meron ba? Ano ang naging challenges mo throughout your career? And ano yung parang pwede mong ibigay na kwento na parang ito yung pinaka naging struggle ko as a designer?
I think it's not necessarily like, well, lahat tayo I think got affected by the pandemic. Parang parang naging kampante ako sa isang client ko, my major client at that time, who was in the apparel space. Ito yung nakuha ko sa Craigslist. Biglang bumagsak yung industry kasi walang tao pumupunta sa malls. Yung clients namin, t-shirts and brands for people who buy in malls, mga mall brands. So it really parang was pulled under my sort of like my base layer and my layer cake was pulled underneath, and that was the only thing that was supporting my family. So naging kampante ako sa isang client and I lost that client. So I had to apply everything that I learned in like trying to find clients abroad in a very short span of time in 2020 to survive.
Yeah.
So that was one struggle, and then naayos naman. And then right now, one of my other clients, parang they've started to, I built a team here for 35 people, and then now they're gonna decide to move their operations to another country and leave the Philippines. Kasi mura daw doon. So parang sinasabi ko sa kanila, that's a mistake. But it's your CEO who's gonna decide that. Nag-agree naman yung mga creative bosses doon. But wala silang magagawa. So that's gonna be another setback of trying to, again, find another client to replace it and also help find support for the 35 other people that we had to hire. Yun, that's a setback. Yung mga things, a lot of them is like practical setbacks na how do you support a family without a client, and then ano pa ba? Setbacks in terms of like, I think as you grow old in your industry and yung finding your voice, I think at a young age, dun mo dapat siya i-hone. Kasi when the more practical side of things start to happen, like, uy, kailangan ng tuition ito.
Yeah.
Kailangan ng doctor's payment dito. Or ito yung hindi natin na plano yung sakit niya. Kailangan ng ganyan. Or ngayon, dalawa na silang kailangan ng braces.
Yes.
So yung mga ganong setback, your mindset becomes more like, I need to feel more of my last layer cake when it's work and not necessarily like the stuff that you put on top of the
Correct.
cake na yun yung prestigious
Correct.
clients that you want to work with talaga. So it's not a setback. It just become more like there's a practical approach to
Yes.
running a business essentially.
Yeah, kasi life is life eh. Di ba? Kumbaga parang
Yeah.
ang life is not all the glamorous things naman, di ba?
Ganon.
Para at the end of the day, pag clock out natin, kanya-kanyang buhay tayo, we have our families to feed, di ba? So even your clients naman, I'm sure at the end of the day, pag wala sila sa Nike, families din
Yep.
iniisip niyan. So parang when realities hit, we have to cover all our bases, di ba?
Yes.
Parang ganyan. So Sir AJ, question, you think what is the biggest lesson that you learned with all those setbacks that happened during the pandemic na parang one client pulled out, another client moved their operations to another
Yeah.
country, and then you had to be responsible to your 35 employees.
Yeah.
I'm sure na nalampasan mo na yan, di ba? I'm not gonna get into details, pero what do you think is the greatest lesson? Kasi as artists, usually we just think about how do I become creative? And then when there's money involved now, when there's commerce involved, you suddenly become a businessman.
Yes.
Di ba?
I think yun. That you said it yourself. Parang how do you run a business? How do you become a businessman in this field of being a creative person?
Correct.
Parang in a perfect world, all I'm gonna do all day is just designing t-shirts.
Exactly.
Diba? Or you shooting, music videos or really work for top companies. But yun nga, like I said, at the end of the day, you have to pay the bills, you're losing clients. My mindset has parang developed into one where it used to be I'm fearful because where do I get my next client? But now more of maybe this is room for a new project or a new client that will come along that will support me. Parang it's also an opportunity for me to, when I'm losing clients, is it maybe I need to learn new things? Ako kasi, I'm a parang lifelong learner. So I always learn new things like new technologies from dati. I still believe in blockchain and NFTs. And then I believe now in AI and all that. So I have to learn these new tools because the industry is changing so fast that I need to be on top of it.
Correct.
So the same way I learned Photoshop and web design and HTML in the 90s, I'm still learning to this day. So hindi ako nagre-rest and na parang okay na ako, magaling na ako. It's always how do I upskill, do I become better, because like AI, I think it's taking all our jobs
Yeah,
eventually. But yeah.
I remember the last time we talked in person, we were having coffee. We're talking about AI, di ba? Kasi
Yeah.
parang isa yun sa mga pinag-uusapan din in advertising. Before, it was a threat na, AI is gonna take our jobs. We're all gonna lose our jobs. But now, advertising is trying to embrace it na as a tool.
Yep.
Diba? And then, that's, even me as a film director, I need to embrace it. Hindi ako dapat matakot na, kaya na lang gumawa ng videos, mga ads in Nike, do Adidas,
Yes.
meron na AI eh. So parang, how do I use it as a tool? So that's something I'm also trying to learn now. And then that's why I approached you before
Yeah.
also, di ba? Na parang, Sir
Gawa
AJ,
tayo. Yeah,
ano bang
let's-
merong pwedeng gawin dito? So, I guess, tama yung point mo eh. We should not sit on our laurels, I guess, whatever we are now, di ba? Na parang we have to constantly evolve. Otherwise, magiging obsolete ka, may iwan ka ng industry.
Yeah.
Especially in the creative world na parang hindi siya, well, it's a skill, pero it's constantly evolving also.
I agree.
Di ba?
Yeah, I think ultimately you embrace the discomfort. Parang to be nga, it's a required thing to to call yourself a creative person. Kasi there's no creativity in doing the same thing every day or for the rest of your career. It's parang the point of creativity nga is working with setbacks, whether it's financial or learning a new tool. Parang that's how you're creative because not everything is perfect. You have to move away from the comfort. It has to be hard. There has to be some discomfort for you that you have to overcome. So parang Kasi lahat yun, it's overcoming discomfort and is embracing it essentially.
Galing. Galing nun. So I'm looking at my camera team now, and then that's something that we should embrace also, pare. I mean, kasi, yeah, we're in this room, we're all creatives. And then sometimes, the challenge is the brain rot, di ba, na parang, I have nothing to offer anymore. Parang, is this it? Parang, hanggang doon na lang ba ako? And that's uncomfortable, for a creative to realize that, na parang parang, aside from making it feel insecure, making me feel insecure na parang hanggang dito na lang ba ako, I should embrace it and learn
Yep.
and then evolve, di ba?
Truth.
Na hindi
True.
pa siya finish line for me. Dapat I have to be creative enough to, step outside of whatever box I'm in right now
Yeah.
and, again, evolve, di ba? So, anong masasabi mo naman, Sir AJ, dun sa mga creative people who are not in the creative industry but wants to be in the creative industry, but for some reason they can't be, meaning maybe they have a day job, maybe the comfort of a paycheck every month is something that sustains their life. Diba? Mahirap yun eh. Na
Yes.
may mga kaibigan ako na magagaling videographers, they want to be in the video industry, but they have obligations already. Diba? Diba? I'm sure in your industry also, may mga ganyan na parang,
Yes.
I can take on a job, pero this requires more time, and then nag-accounting ako by
Yeah.
day, I want to be an artist by night. And I can't be like you. I can't be a freelancer, diba?
Oo.
So, what do you think should be a way for them to be in this world?
I've had that question also asked by people in like workshops na kasi accountant ako or engineer ako or biologist ako pero gusto ko talaga mag-drawing or mag-painting. I think if you're at a point where you have to first pursue the creative work on the side and then find a point where it actually pays before you even consider leaving, say, a full-time job. Sa akin, hindi siya parang, hindi, passion ko to, pursue ko na agad. Kailangan may konting practical approach to it. So, yun yung ginawa ko when 2007, nung salary ko was like 2x, 3x from the freelance kaysa dun sa day job. Dun ko na na-realize, okay, give up ko na tong day job ko.
In spite
So,
of freelance work not being secure, di ba? Na
Yes.
parang hindi siya yung, I'm sure next month may freelance gig ako. Hindi ganun di ba?
Hindi. So, parang yung niya is, kunyari, this month, 3x, 4x, pero next month, half lang nung salary mo
Or
sa
sometimes
sweldo,
0x, di ba?
Or zero. So, that's when I realized working with clients also to be, how do I put myself in an opportunity na the client will be paying me on a retainer basis. So, consistent ito yung layer cake na binibuild ko in the foundation na, babayaran yung ko, kunyari, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month, 50,000 a month yung babayaran ko. Pero ito yung deliver ko.
Yeah.
So like you were mentioning earlier, this studio, it's 17K for rent. If there's a client that pays for that, then you can continue producing more podcasts, di ba? So ganun din yung sa akin. Itong client na to pays for my car loan. This client pays for my housing loan.
Galing.
Yung ganun. So,
it's really covering your bases, di ba?
Yeah.
Tama.
So-
Kasi yung tipong, okay, I'll deliver this amount of work, but you have to pay me my
X
premium versus,
Yeah.
sige, every month I'll give you this, but may security ng retainer fees, di ba?
Yes, so minsan hindi siya premium. Minsan it's a cheaper option but it's a
Tuloy-tuloy.
constant work. So,
Tuloy,
so
magandang
yun yung-
strategy yun.
Yeah, so kung nagsa-start ka, edi kumuha ka ng less na than what your day job pays you. Pero consistent naman until, mas marami na yung...
Yeah. Then eventually, dalawa na yung retainer clients mo, and then
Oo.
maging tatlo. And then, suddenly, you can leave your day job kasi may
Yes.
tatlong retainer clients ka na, and then you take on more freelance projects.
na prestigious.
Na prestigious
Kunyari
na.
Nike, once a year yan or once in 2 years or maybe, yung iba, never get to work with Nike.
Correct.
But sometimes, okay, maybe once in 2 years, once in 3
Correct.
years.
what can you, I guess, advise to, the dreamers who were once a college dropout also like you, na parang ano yung gusto mong sa panghawakan nila right now para they, I guess, go all out do sa gusto nilang gawin, like graphic design or design.
Actually, meron akong ano dyan eh. I do a workshop and then I give them like, it's essentially parang 4 to 5 steps of what I created and did in my own career na hindi ko siya, at that time, hindi ko alam na yun yung ginawa ko. So parang just sort of looking back into my own career, ito yung mga different things that I applied pala na that brought me to where I was in my journey. So I call that the create method. Yung create is it's very simple. It's chase your dreams and reach for the stars is CR. So parang it's the corniest thing that you can do at the beginning. And like you said, dream. It's there. Chase your dreams. And when you dream, it has to be impossible and it has to be big enough na parang it's scary. So it has to be, I want to work with Michael Jordan. Sinabi ko yan, I want to work with Michael Jackson. I want to work with Manny Pacquiao. Parang at one point, nilagay ko yata yan sa mga Facebook or posts or ganon. I said those things and I want those things to happen. Like now, I want my design in space. I want to work with Kenneth Cobanpue. I want to design a an airplane. Like my design is on an airplane, like branding. I want to be able to be one day a Filipino design recipient award for helping Filipinos. So other Filipinos. So parang it has to be corny. It has to be almost impossible. You first have to remember na okay lang yon. Na hindi siya corny, na pwede kang mangarap ng ganon. Tapos that's a CR. Yung E is empower yourself. Alamin mo ano yung gusto mo. Alam mo yung strengths mo. Ako, I was always passionate about design, basketball, sport, t-shirts. So lahat yun in-incorporate ko sa work ko. So I knew what I was good at and what I was interested in. And then yung A, I had to amplify and tell the world about it. So
Galing.
self-initiated work based on what I was good at, yung empowering myself. Alamin mo nung gusto mo. Ano yung pangarap mo? Saan ka magaling? I-amplify mo yan. Eh di pakita mo.
Yeah.
Sabihin mo, magaling ako mag-design. O nanalo ako ng t-shirt. Ibotohin niyo ako. $10,000. First Filipino.
Correct.
Parang to be part of this. In-amplify ko yung voice ko. Tapos, ginagawa mo yan. Nag-share ka ng work mo. Diba? Which I'm like saying, gusto ko yung ginagawa mo. Kaya I want to do that also. And then, yung take risks, yung T. Yung parang, yun nga, take a leap. Parang build the parachute as you jump off. So there was a project with Nike in AKQA in China na inoffer sa akin na sabi ko, hindi ko kaya yata to. I was gonna say no to a Nike project. Parang hindi ko kaya. I had to make the portrait of Cristiano Ronaldo using a ball, like a soccer ball na ididip sa paint. Tapos yung dip na, yung paint marks ng ball, gagawin kong portrait niya. Tapos kailangan yun, digital yung file na ibibigay ko kasi animate nila yun eh.
Correct.
So I was gonna say no to a project like that until I said, shit, I'll do it. I've never done it before. I took the leap. I'll try kahit hindi ko alam paano. I'll do it. So, buti na nag-guess ako. Shinare pa ni Ronaldo yung work ko na yun. First time niya mag-visit sa China. Anyway, yun. So take a leap. And then lastly, evolve constantly, which is kind of talked about earlier. Embrace the discomfort of learning new things, whether it's new tools, new technologies, because otherwise you're not really a creative if you're stagnant and you're not learning new stuff. So, yun, yung create. Baga from your dream to realizing what you're good at, to talking about that, taking risks, and then never stop learning. One thing that I also learned is based on that whole thing is that you essentially create your own luck. So I don't know if you've heard the surface area of luck.
No, not
So
yet.
the surface area is like say a square. If this X line is the amount of work that you do, so the more amount, mas malaki yung line na yun.
Yep.
But this has to be the how you talk about your work.
Okay.
So the more you talk about your work and the more work that you do, self-initiated or not, your surface area of luck becomes
That's
much
so good.
bigger.
Yeah, correct.
So hindi ako nag-invent niyan, but I saw that before. So you do the work, talk about the work. So yung surface area of luck mo, palaki ng
Yeah.
palaki.
Yeah.
So dito yung nakita niyo yung design ko sa Behance.
Yeah.
Kasi shinare ko dun. Or yung friend ko, nakita niya yung mahilig ako sa Jordan, kaya nagkatrabaho kami kay Lebron, kaya nagkatrabaho kami sa Lebron dahil alam niya na I did some stuff for Lebron.
Yeah.
So yun yung mga other ways that I got to work with the Nikes, the Jordans, because I talked about the work and so my luck increased.
Ang galing. Ang galing. Alam mo, I have something to share about that, yung the way you work and the way you talk about your work. Kasi obviously, we're friends on Facebook and you see me share my work, di ba? And a lot of people are ticked off na parang he keeps on talking about himself, he keeps on promoting himself.
See.
And then parang at the back of my head, parang I should probably ignore them kasi parang, di ba, like they're not the ones feeding my family or they're not the ones giving me work. Pero say ko, at one point, should I tone it down? Should I, sort of slow down?
No.
And then recently, Sir AJ, I'm gonna tell you, an ad agency approached me. They saw my work na hindi branded. The ones I do for passion, yung mga short documentaries that I do, and then they wanted me to do a material for a vitamin brand. Na parang they want me yung style ko of how I shot my non-branded stuff to do their branded project.
Yeah.
We just finished it. Nasa editing stage kami now. And nagulat ako parang first time gawin ng agency to. First time gawin ng brand to. Na they approached an artist to do their project.
Yeah.
Na parang, wow, okay, this has never been done before and I'm gonna do it. And then I felt like, oh my God, okay, so much pressure. Ganito ka pressure, walang agency and client during the shoot. As in, the first time I showed them my shots,
ikaw lang
was
yun.
the first edit na.
Ikaw lang
I formed my team. I have a team.
Galing.
And then, yun yung 3 days, 4 units. Every day, may 4 units kami nag-shooting. We had to find our own subjects. We had to find our own stories.
Yeah.
And then, for a 3-minute material. And then, pinakita ko yung first edit yesterday. Siyempre, by the time that this episode airs, naka-launch na yung project, which I'm gonna show you. Ang unang sabi ng iyon sa akin, Direk, ang ganda.
Ay,
di ba kasi boses ko na yun?
Yes.
Di ba? Hindi na
yun eh.
Di ba? Hindi na storyboard yun na pinaganda ko. Pero storyboard ko, campaign idea nila, song nila, boses
you
ko.
As an artist, you as a director.
Ito na yun.
That's it.
And then, sobrang, kaya nung sinabi mo na parang, you do your work, and then you talk about your work. Ang dami ng platforms na, with the social media, ganyan. Sabi ko, parang nakaka-relate ako doon na. Kasi I've always believed na itong mga non-branded projects that I do na kinukulit ka lang yung mga tao, shoot tayo, short documentary about yourself, about your life. Sabi ko, I'm sure may payoff din to at one point. And humina loob ko sometimes kasi when I hear noises, especially people from the industry also na parang puro naman to BTS, whatever, behind the scenes, di ba? Puro ganyan naman. Nakakahinang loob, nakakahiya. And then, this project came to me. And then, sabi ko, okay, yung lahat ng ginawa ko for how many years, ito yung isang payoff nun. And I don't think I'm ever gonna stop anymore. Yeah. Kasi na-realize ko na parang, that's also a curve that I can do.
Yes.
So,
parang feeling ganda. Kasi I think that's how we should be working as creatives. Parang what kind of voice are you bringing into the picture? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a film, a t-shirt, a design. parang feeling ko nga artist lang kasi tayo lahat.
Mm.
We're all
Totoo.
artists, di ba?
Oo,
Na
totoo.
parang you just wanna put in how you see the world, how you see, or if you're a musician, di ba? Ano yung inner, mo,
You're right.
conversation mo, or your turmoil mo. So, kaya parang masarap yung feeling pag ikaw yung
Totoo
boses mo yung nandun sa work.
Totoo yan.
Ganda.
Sir AJ, and what's next for you? Ako, di ko na alam eh. Like, you mentioned a while ago yung mga dream collaborations mo.
Yeah.
Diba? Pero, what's next for you ba?
Personally, yung dream collaborations will always be there. But there's also a big parang purpose which is helping more Filipinos not just sort of not necessarily follow my footsteps but also believe that it's possible for them, but also actually helping find Filipinos jobs
Outside the country, diba?
outside the country.
This is your Facebook page na
My
I'm
Facebook
also
page,
part.
it's called Filipino Nomads, where I post jobs that I feel na hindi binabarat yung Pilipino, or na parang umangat din yung ibang creatives dito based kasi parang alam ko na paano maghanap online.
Correct.
So kung hindi ko kailangan yung job na yun, then I hopefully somebody else will need it. So I want to share that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to help find more work for more Filipinos.
And I'm a part of that community.
Yeah.
Like, nakatingin ako doon. Of course, I don't...
wala masyadong photography.
walang photography or video works. Pero I follow that page and I see a lot of people getting jobs through you. So,
Yeah.
ayan. Sir AJ, wala. Yun lang. I really want to thank you for, spending your weekday with us, sharing your knowledge and journey to our audience. I'm really blown away that I'm speaking to you in person now. Like, I've always been a fan. I always follow your works and I'm always inspired by you as a person, diba? And then feeling ko because of this episode, I got to know you more. And hopefully, diba, parang this doesn't stop here.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can still do things. Hopefully we can collaborate, diba?
Yes.
Maybe if you need like video content
Oo
or
nga
video
eh.
projects, for sure. Like I live like less than a kilometer from you naman eh. Pero most of all, thank you for sharing all of these to our audience. Kasi that's the goal. Is to really empower the people to follow their dreams, follow their passion. And I think this episode specifically can do that. So salamat for doing that. And thank you for doing this to our community, diba? So, ayun, I guess.
It's such an honor to be here. Gusto ko rin mag more content. I-share ko lahat ng mga clips na to.
Sige. Yun lang. So,
Alright.
again, salamat for doing this. Thank you. Salamat. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you were able to learn something from this episode. Do not forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on our social media pages. There are so much more episodes to watch out for, and see you on the next one.